Hi, I'm going to reproduce here a talk I gave in April 2023 to the Psychedelic Society of Asheville, just so I could share it with more people. And it contains an overview of internal family systems and then some thoughts about how that model can support psychedelic practice. And it begins with an overview of a project we're doing with myself and Sarah Levine, Amy Borsky-Duffer, and Dr. Zach Foy, where we're offering group ketamine-assisted psychotherapy. Okay, so anchoring the psychedelic experience with internal family systems. So just a little bit about my background. I studied holotropic breathwork with Stan Groff and Christina at times, and have been offering that since 1997, along with some other forms of breathwork, including an online version that started during the pandemic. And I'm continuing that because people like doing it that way. But we've also recently started offering in-person breathwork again outside of Asheville. And when you hang around with the holotropic community, you do get invited to experience psychedelics. And I benefited from those experiences, and I think they inform the work I do today. And then started studying core energetics, did a 4-year training, a post-grad year, and taught on the faculty for 14 years. And this gave me a grounding in somatic psychology and effective group work. And then, of course, internal family systems. I basically learned the model from the earlier version of this book, but then did all the levels of the IFS training and was a program assistant for a while at the trainings. And now for the last 6 years have been teaching the model to practitioners. I also had a chance for 4 or 5 years to present breathwork at the IFS conferences, and this was a nice chance to explore the intersection between IFS and the non-ordinary state. The idea for Group Cat came from my first ketamine experience, and about 10 minutes in, I just noticed it felt just like a breathwork experience, and I didn't see the need to be paying a professional to hand me a water bottle and write down the stupid stuff I was saying. Well, some of the insights were good, I guess, but the whole thing didn't really make sense to me. And when you think about how cultures have offered the non-ordinary state to their members throughout time, it doesn't look a lot like our current model for ketamine treatment. We enjoy using this medicine in a group, and the participants report feeling supported by each other in that non-ordinary space and around it. And of course, doing a group format allows us to significantly reduce the cost and even offer a few scholarships to people in each cohort that otherwise would never be able to afford this experience. So here's our sound system. This was set up for holotropic breathwork, so it's a little overkill for ketamine music, but we like people to be in the same musical space rather than having their own headsets. And Sarah and I entertain each other. We have similar tastes in music, so we enjoy that experience with each other. Another benefit of the group model is that there's less danger of ethics problems in offering touch. Here's Amy providing some hands-on. We can also provide integration experiences in the afternoon after their morning ketamine journeys. This is probably our favorite of those, and we'll just bring people into nature and let them connect. Often when people are depressed or anxious, they feel alienated from their environment, so it can be lovely to reintroduce them to the beauty and the magnificence of nature. So here you see Sarah orienting people to a nature immersion experience. And the participants will choose a spot and just spend some time there in the neuroplastic state. We also offer movement or body awareness. And it's an interesting thing with ketamine as a dissociative. It kind of, at higher doses, takes people out of the body. But we do think as they're coming back in, there's a chance to have a new relationship with embodiment. We also offer a process called soul collage. just a way to bring the unconscious out and get it down on paper where people can work with it. This is what a soul collage card might look like. Whenever we do the medicine, we begin and end the day with the group checking in and sharing their experiences. Right now, the only form of ketamine that we're using is these sublingual troches. We suggest that people swish them around in their mouth for 15 or 20 minutes and then spit it out. Sometimes people swallow it, which is fine. It tends to prolong the experience and for some people leads to nausea. For people who haven't used ketamine before, we suggest starting at 200 milligrams and then going up in the second session to 300 and then to 400. And if they're coming for a fourth time, another time of 400. But people's experience varies, so they will adjust their dose accordingly. Outside of the group CAP project, I've been experimenting with doses of about 50 milligrams before therapy sessions, and that's proving to be a really effective psycholytic dose, and folks are getting to places in their IFS work that they hadn't reached before. We suggest that the participants stay on their mats for an hour after taking the medicine with their eye shades on, keeping their focus internal, and then for a second hour they can continue to do that, or they can do a mandala, which comes from the holotropic breathwork world, or journal, or go outside. We have medicines cards they can work with, or these TheraTappers. We don't know, but perhaps this bilateral stimulation would be especially effective in the neuroplastic state. We do 2 online orientations before each cohort gathers in person, and there participants can meet each other, learn about ketamine, about internal family systems, intention setting, preparation, etc. And also for the month-long cohorts, we meet every Monday night after the weekend workshops to take advantage of neuroplasticity to support new habits and work with people using the IFS model. We're asking people to fill out some research questionnaires before and after this series of workshops, and we're not too pushy about it, so not everyone completes both the pre and the post. But of the ones who do, we're getting a fair amount of data now. The scales we're using, there's 3. One's called DAS-21, standing for Depression, Anxiety, and Stress. The second is a nature-relatedness scale. And the third is a self-leadership scale, which is an IFS concept. And here's showing, up until this point, the average reduction in depression and anxiety and stress. So it's going from about 51 to just under 18, so a 2/3 reduction in those symptoms. And we're getting some data back after 6 months to a year, and that's showing that these improvements are persisting. The second scale, nature-relatedness, we're not showing that big of a change. I think that's because most of the people who come and do this don't start by saying, yeah, I hate nature. And the third scale, we're seeing some nice shifts as well.